Welcome to the podcast, Whole Life Podcast, where we we have a chit chat and talk about life's mysteries. I thought what better opportunity to have a wonderful guest on of where I came from and who gave me life. Billie Jean, my mother. She's mother of two amazing, wonderful women that is one of the most kind and forgiving people that I've ever met. And
all
I think
all true.
And we're going to get to know her a little bit more today and see, what her take on life is and see what's up. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Tommy.
Thanks for coming on the show with me today.
Oh, no problem. We'll settle up afterwards.
Yeah, she's driving a hard bargain. I just had to write a blank check and she just shows up. So hopefully I'm in the will, so it'll all come back to me. So, you just moved to Poulsbo?
I did, 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
About 2 months ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I like it here. It's in a little community. It's a HUD housing, but it's one level and it's like a little village here. In fact, it's called Village Cove, a postmark of Village Cove or something like that. And I feel safe here. And plus, there's no freeway nearby. It's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
A lot of people with dogs and I tell you, it's a workout. And walking in the morning, I have to smile and say good morning to people and be pleasant. I don't have to, but it's just such a difference from being in town. And I like it.
Yeah. How'd you choose Poulsbo?
Well, I was living in Sequim for 4 years, and I did love it over there, except the health care for a person that's aging. Mm-hmm. Not to say I'm getting old, but I am aging slowly.
And how old are you now? Like 42 or something?
39, I
39.
think. 37, something like that.
Wow. I'm going to pass you up pretty soon here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Wow.
I'm in my 70s, well, I'll say that. Mm-hmm. And I lived over
Keep
there, and in the 4 years, I think they raised my rent twice in the last year I was there, but about 3 times, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. And it also, the medical community over there wasn't what I would want it to be. It just wasn't available. And like a community of like medical community, like community of your doctor friends. There were doctors. There was a clinic there that I went to, and I did not like my doctor. We had issues. Oh. So I and also when I was having a intestinal problem, I guess I went, and I couldn't see her. But I must have gone like every week for a month and saw a different doctor because she wasn't. If you have an emergency, your own doctor is not necessarily available. But it's just, I felt like it was never really resolved. It kind of resolved itself, but I think I've had lingering problems from that time, and it was a couple years ago. Some intestinal or digestive issues. And
you feel like Poulsbo has a better...
Poulsbo, I haven't seen a doctor here yet, but it's close to Silverdale. I'm only like 9 miles. Mm-hmm. And there's a hospital in Silverdale, and there's several clinics and specialists. And I'm also, I spent a time in Tacoma with you. I lived with my son for 5 months. And there's an excellent breast cancer center, Carol Milgard, that I've consulted, and I'm still reaching out to them for some issues I'm having.
Yeah.
And so I felt more secure, and there's hospitals over there. And Paulsbo was 2 hours away from Tacoma to see my son and my daughter. You and your sister. You and your sister.
Is there I don't know that I met your son or your daughter. What's he like?
You probably wouldn't like him. You probably wouldn't get along with him.
I don't really like very many people.
I know. You're not very friendly.
No. I mean, if anyone that knows me is like, whew, good luck.
But I was there for 5 months, and there's more things available. But also, I wanted to be closer to you and your sister because I am getting older, and if I need help or also the medical attention, whatnot, it's only 50 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
Just a little under an hour, I think, to go to your house now.
Yeah.
So theoretically, you could come over, and you have come over and just had lunch with me and then gone back home.
Yeah, I will say, knowing that you're here and it's only 50 minutes, it's much easier, like, approachable for me to consider, like, just coming out for the day even. Whereas before, when you're in Sequim, like, knowing it was a 2-hour drive, it's like I felt like I had to plan a whole weekend and make it worth it to drive that far and stay. But here it's like, even if I could come out in the morning and then still go back in the evening if I didn't want to stay over. So I anticipate Katie and I being able to like come out and see you more. And it's easier for you to drive to Tacoma too now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I also have a couple of friends in South Seattle in the Burien White Center area. And I haven't done it yet, and I won't have to spend the night. I can drive to Southworth, catch the ferry to West Seattle or Fauntleroy, and save all that driving and see my friends, and not necessarily have to spend the night. So that's an option too.
Yeah. Where did you say they were?
One of them lives like in White Center area.
Oh, okay.
And then the others are in the Burien area.
Gotcha. Yeah, much closer to get over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So medical reasons, it's closer to things here in Poulsbo and closer to us, your son and your daughter. And I don't know, I've walked around, it's pretty cute here. And this apartment too is in like such a good spot. It's like we walked to the downtown, and what's it, like a 10-15 minute walk?
Yeah, a little slower coming back because it's uphill, but
yeah.
It's right on the water, and you can see boats out there. In fact, we walked out on the dock and looked at the boats, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Buddy was a little nervous.
The dog is Buddy. Buddy is the dog.
Yeah. Your other son.
Yeah, my other son. My baby.
Yeah, your baby. And Buddy's a new family member. We haven't really had dogs growing up, like my grandma had one. And I think maybe when I was a baby or something, but...
We did. Your dad had a dog, and we had a couple dogs there that didn't work out. Yeah.
And now that you have Buddy, how long has it been now? Just a few months?
I got him the January 2nd, I believe, and it's almost May, so January, February, March, April. Almost 4 months.
And do you like it?
Most of the time I love it.
Oh,
yeah. I love that he sleeps in the bed with me, although sometimes I have to climb over him to get out of bed, But, and he's always so happy in the morning. He's so happy, and he just looks at me adoringly, and, but he helps me get myself out. To go out and walk. I have to do it at least, first thing in the morning, but then a couple longer walks during the day. And it makes me go out and walk no matter what the weather is.
Yeah.
In fact, I invested in a really good raincoat this year.
Oh, nice. Just to get out.
So yeah, it's so I'm prepared, but it's a beautiful community over here. It's very walking friendly. Mm-hmm. And so far, the people I've met in this little complex are pretty nice. I think it's like anywhere you live, there's going to be drama, but you can choose to participate or not. And,
yeah.
And mm-hmm. I choose not to participate in too much drama.
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of drama this week already from somebody I used to know.
Yeah.
It was a rather uncomfortable experience because she's decided, I guess, she hates me. And she moved into this complex. But she lives on the other side, so I don't anticipate any problems. But just let her be.
Yeah. Now, like with the drama, does anyone get into fights?
I've never seen anybody. I haven't been here that long.
Yeah. It's 55 and up, right? Here?
Well, no, it's HUD housing, but there are several people I meet that are younger, and
really?
They are either challenged or they have medical problems. But I think anybody can apply because the one person I told you I know, she's a little bit young. She is older than 55, but she makes more than I do. Yeah. She makes a better pension than I do, and so I think anybody can apply, but it's based on need.
Yeah, but
there are
they're
people,
not fighting each other.
There are a couple of people that I've met that have been in bad accidents and are on disability.
So they're definitely not fighting people.
No. No.
And now this feels like a home for a while.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you have moved around a little bit. Where were you born? Let's talk about. I want to know where you came from.
I don't even know if you know where I was born.
I know. I do, in the Dalles.
In the Dalles, Oregon, on the Columbia River.
On the river, like in a boat, or was it a river? Like a river
You could
bird?
see the river, but I wasn't actually born in the house I lived in. I went to the Dalles Hospital.
Oh, they had hospitals back then.
But the little community outside of the Dalles, I think it's west of the Dalles, is called Rowena. Mm-hmm. And I was born. My folks lived there. My mom and dad were both from Kansas, but after my dad got out of the Army, they wanted to go to the Northwest. He always loved the Northwest, the little bit he saw of it. And so they moved to the Dalles, and he worked for the railroad, but because he had a reaction to, I think he was a fireman at first or something, and he had some allergic reaction to the heat or something he had this thing called jungle rot that would flare up.
Really?
It was like a rash.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's another name for it. He didn't have it.
Did you get it from the jungle? Or just...
Damned if I know. Possibly because he was in India, somewhere in India, in the Army, and he was in... I'm trying to think. He was in China, but mostly in Europe, I think. But anyway, he got something, and it reacted from the heat in the engine to his arms. So I only saw that one time growing up. After that, and I forget if we were here or living in Kansas still, because when I was 2, I lived in the Dalles until I was 2, and then they moved back to Wichita, Kansas. And he got a job working for Boeing, and we lived there until I was 10. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to Des Moines, Washington, and eventually Federal Way.
You lived in the Dalles where did you live till you were 10?
I lived in the Dalles till I was 2. 2. Moved to Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita.
And then moved from Wichita to Washington State, around the Des Moines or Seattle area, and lived there in the South Seattle area for many years. And then when I was on 16. In fact, I was 15 and turned 16 on our way to Louisiana and lived there for a year and a half with a move from Boeing. And I actually loved it. It was down outside of New Orleans, actually, across Lake Pontchartrain in a place called Slidell, Louisiana, on Bayou Liberty, and I loved it down there, and I made friends, that I was never able to actually in Washington, and then after a year and a half, they moved back to the Seattle area, and on and off throughout my life, I'd stay there, and I went other places. I lived in Boston for a year, and I'd go back and stay with my sister for months in New York State. And so, where else did I live? I lived in Edmonds for a year. I moved with a job, and I got laid off after 6 months. And so I stayed there in Edmonds another 6 months, and then moved back to South Seattle because both you and Katie, I think we're back in South Seattle.
Okay, so we kind of skipped ahead because
you lived in Bellingham for a while.
So you were in New York, like visiting your sister. You only lived there for a year, didn't?
No, I lived in Boston for a year.
In Boston.
Yeah, that was in my early 20s.
Yeah, and you went to Harvard, or you?
Oh, I did. I worked at Harvard Law School.
Oh, you worked at Harvard.
At Alumni Funds.
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s, and I had been married, and that broke up. And so I think I was 22 maybe. And I went to Boston. My sister was living in Cambridge with...
We're going all the way back to Boston.
Really?
Yeah. So in the middle of the show, we're still learning here, and the audio recorder shut off. So you're not going to be able to tell in this episode, but we had a little bit of a laugh because we're going all the way back to Boston. So you lived in Cambridge? And then
just outside Cambridge. I worked in Cambridge at Harvard Law School.
Yeah. And then your friends moved away or something, or
my roommates all went to different schools in the area. I had two, I think, that went to Harvard Law School. One went to MIT, and one of them went to Smith, the woman that lived there, and they all went home for the summer, or one of them graduated, and then the lady that was going to Smith, I think she graduated too, and they moved to Berkeley, which I ended up going, and when I went back to Seattle, I stayed with them for 2 weeks in Berkeley.
Cool. Did you, at that time, did you, think about going to college?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know anything about how to get into college. I mean, I did go to community college a couple of times. Before that, I went to Highline, and then afterwards, later, a few years later, I went to North Seattle when my brother was going there. But no, I didn't know. And at that time, my dad always said, "Oh, you could be a teacher or a nurse," and I thought the prospect of me doing either one of those was kind of not appealing at all.
Yeah.
But he come from a family that some of them probably didn't even finish school. I don't know. And
that your grandparents didn't, or your parents they didn't go to college either, or? No.
No. My dad took some night classes, but I don't know if that was college classes when he worked at Boeing.
Yeah.
For his career. Interestingly enough, though, my grandma, my mom's mother, had gone to college.
Oh, really?
And I think she got a teaching degree, but when she got out, I don't think she taught. She married my grandpa, Darst, And he came from a family of farmers, and he was a horrible farmer. I think he might have been an alcoholic too, I'm not sure. But she worked really hard. She ended up marrying him, and she didn't ever teach. I think in those days, though, you couldn't be married as a woman and teach. I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, she had a pretty hard life. But she did go to college.
Did she just have to work on the farm or something?
Yeah, she had to keep him afloat because I guess
she was the farmer, really.
She had how many kids? My 2 uncles and 3. She had 5 kids. She might have had more that died. I don't know. And then I think they took in a couple of kids too at some point, some relatives.
Yeah.
But no, she had a really hard life. And they did have the homestead that my great-grandparents homesteaded in Fredonia, Kansas. But I don't think it was great. Like I say, I don't think my grandpa was a great farmer. I never knew him. He died before I was born.
Yeah.
And I had a step-grandpa, but yeah.
And then... yeah, that kind of makes sense, not knowing what the options are or like what the possibilities of school are. I don't necessarily think school's necessary, but I know when I went to school, it felt like a steep climb because I didn't, I had to figure it out all on my own. And I can imagine, it'd be so much easier if I had a kid, I could tell them what the process is like and help them along the way. But it definitely felt like I just had to kind of figure it out and stumble through. And I definitely made some mistakes going through school. And I also going through the school process, from high school, my counselor and then counselors at college, I got some really bad advice too.
Yeah.
And, student loans and stuff. Thankfully, I was still poor enough where I didn't have to take out a bunch of loans. I could get, grants and some scholarships, but some of my friends are, $100,000, $200,000 in debt from school, and that just doesn't seem like a great way to start out.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what kind of idea, before we move on from Boston back to Seattle, what kind of ideas did you have for your life? Did you kind of have a vision of what you wanted to strive for, or you were just kind of figuring it out?
I was going to grow up, meet the love of my life, this perfect man.
Yeah.
And get married and have 3 children and no problems, and have a house paid for, and of course my husband would make enough money that if I didn't want to work I wouldn't have to, but I could if I wanted to, and have a car and no debt and leave it to Beaver.
Yeah, the dream. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, but I didn't think. At a certain age, I didn't think... at one point, I thought I would go to school and to be a dental hygienist because that seemed like you didn't have to have very much training to do. But if I really thought it through, I would have hated to have to work with that close to somebody and have my hands in their mouth and stuff like that. And plus, people hate to go to the dentist. And I would feel all that animosity, I didn't think. But I was thinking trade school. Now I look back on it and thinking, if I could go to trade school, what would I do? And I think it would be something in the craft area, like making furniture or woodwork or doing something like that. But those opportunities, when I was in high school, girls couldn't even take shop.
Yeah. Oh, really? In regular school, they couldn't take shop?
No.
So there was men and women class segregation in school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I couldn't wear pants to school. I think it was 2 years after I graduated is when they lifted that.
Oh, wow.
restriction that girls could not wear pants or jeans to school like boys could. You had to wear a skirt or a dress, and it had to go, to just above your knee. It couldn't be a mini skirt or anything like that.
Wow. Interesting. Is there like career-wise, would you do something different? Like what would you...
I really had a passion for Egypt, so maybe an Egyptologist or a geologist or something along those lines, or even a researcher in those areas.
You do love rocks.
Yeah, I do love rocks.
Yeah, I've seen you're a great rock painter.
I have 2 boxes of rocks, I think, at least in my closet. I kept them under my bed for a while. I have moved those boxes before, so I know all about them. I know all the best places for river rocks, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah. And so did you meet... So you've been married twice.
Yes.
And your first husband, did you meet him...
In high school.
Oh, in high school.
I actually was in 7th grade with him, but I didn't know him at all then. I didn't meet him, really get to know him until I was a senior in high school. And I went on a double date with my sister and her boyfriend, who was a good friend of his. And we went on a double date together. Yeah.
And you dated and got married in Seattle? Did he...
He started going to the University of Washington, and I moved there. My sister lived in the U District, as it was called. That was the place to be.
Yeah.
And
still called that.
Yeah.
U District. Yeah. You guys probably started that.
And so he was going to the university for a while, and in the art program. He wanted to be I think, what do you call those guys that design? An architect, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But then he quit that. He was in art, and then he quit school altogether, and which is too bad because his folks were funding it.
Oh, yeah. And then how long were you guys married?
Well, we were actually married before I divorced him, I think 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Just barely, but
yeah.
No, maybe not. Because I think I was 30. Yeah, maybe 30 when I divorced him to marry your dad.
Oh, but you guys weren't together.
No, we weren't together because when I was 21, I think, we got married when we were 20. And then we were together, lived together for a year, and then he took off and left me a poem. He had been smoking weed or something and threw the I Ching, and it gave him a message that he needed to wander.
Oh, wow.
So he hitchhiked to California. He was gone like 3 or 4 days, and then he came right back. I guess he came to his senses. But that broke something in me, and I think that's why I was never able to really fully commit to a relationship after that. I just could not.
Thank you for tuning in to our first podcast episode. And today's episode is supported by your contributions. We have an account with ko-fi.com/wholelifenorthwest where you can contribute. You can do a one-time contribution or a monthly membership, and anyone who donates will get special perks, sneak peeks, insider information, insider trading. Probably not that. Nothing illegal is going on there. But if you want to know if there is, you're gonna have to find out. Every little bit helps. It helps us make more episodes, get better gear, live our lives, so that we can keep connecting with you, keep connecting with our audience. And also, if you want to become a sponsor of the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us, and our contact information. We're looking for new sponsors to be featured, like our friends at Wiley's Cycle Works. No, it's not Willie's. It is pronounced Wiley's if you had any question, but it is the Root Tootin' Scootin' bike shop here in Tacoma, Washington, where you can get locally roasted coffee at the cafe and pick up a bike at the same time. So if you need to buy a new bike and get a latte to go, they're your one-stop shop for coffee and bike needs. It's really a cool place. They've got a bike club that meets on the weekends, and it is one heck of a time. And so thank you so much. It's one of my favorite coffee shops in town. So thank you for supporting me. And yeah, if you too want to be a sponsor and get a shout out, please reach out, and let's get back to the episode.
Get over that. I got over him. I mean, we were kind of together off and on a couple of times, lived together, but I never fully committed to being. But I didn't feel a need to get divorced because I wasn't,
You weren't
getting back out there. I had some boyfriends in between. I don't think I lived with one guy for a while, but yeah, I just Mr. Leave It to Beaver had not come along.
Yeah. The Beaver Man.
Yeah, I did meet a guy in New York at my sister's that I really thought I was in love with. He came to visit me, and I think because I did care too much for him, I sent him packing. I sent him back to Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
I broke up with him because I think I could not commit to really caring about someone that deeply, and I kind of sometimes regretted it, and then I thought, no, that's water under the bridge.
Yeah. I can imagine, though, like, committing to someone, like your first husband so much, and then they just run off spontaneously. Yeah. Like, that would really feel shocking, like a rug pulled out from underneath you or something.
Yeah, I was in shock, actually. I couldn't either sleep. My sister kept me with her because I was just like a zombie. I can't describe the feeling. It was just horrible. Nothing could touch me. I mean, I just like...
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to, like, I don't know, when your whole reality is, you think these things are clear, and then all of a sudden it's nothing is what it seems, You think someone... Too, I imagine going into marriage, too, so young even, it feels like it really is going to be forever. Like, that's why you got married. Yeah. And you guys are going to be your people. And then it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, I was 21 when that happened. We got married when I was 20. We'd been together since we were 18. But yeah, it was hard. And I thought he was my best friend, but like there obviously was, I was too young to understand about communication. I came from a family that was pretty dysfunctional. My mom and dad, were alcoholics, and yeah, we just not.
Yeah.
I had nothing to base what a relationship was or what it's made up of.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure I know the answer to that. So the best thing.
Does anyone know? I don't know. Seen a lot of weird relationships.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what do you might not be as aware, but when I look at dating now, there's all the dating apps, and you just see all these things online. But it seems like every other person is like ethically non-monogamous or polyamorous.
What's polyamorous? That's more than one partner?
Yeah, oh. You have more than one committed partner. Where I think ethically non-monogamous is that you just date around and you don't have a partner, or maybe you have one partner, but then you just go do whatever you want. I guess. I think it depends on the relationship or the people, and then polyamorous would be having multiple consistent partners that you're like in a relationship with. Was there any of that going on back in the day?
No, not. There probably was, but it wasn't well received.
Yeah.
Most people my generation grew up thinking that you have one partner.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard of people, having multiple partners or threesomes or whatever, but
Yeah.
I couldn't envision myself.
Yeah.
But right now, I couldn't even successfully handle one relationship successfully. I can't even imagine having two or three going on.
You and me both. Like, I don't know. You just get so emotionally entangled in like trying to be committed to more than one person or supportive of more than one person in that way is kind of hard to imagine.
Oh my gosh, what if, no.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
I was, about 10 years ago, though, I did meet somebody that I became involved with, and he actually did ask me to marry him. And
Really?
You remember.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And I was considering it, but then all of a sudden he broke it off with me over the telephone. He lived out of state.
Yeah.
And that was pretty devastating. I thought, I thought you learned your lesson. I thought, well, I'm older now, we're mature people. And but I had known him when I was 16 in Louisiana, and I didn't really know him, and I just, once again, I liked the idea of, all this attention I was getting, and I just made some wrong choices, but I put myself in it. I don't regret it in a way because it was kind of fun and I felt kind of special and everything for a little while until I didn't. I'm not very good at reading people.
Well, it's really hard to tell. And that's the wild thing, where nowadays I really, try to take my time to get to know someone. Getting into a relationship, it's so hard to get out of. And so many people, I find, want to do it so quickly. And they don't know each other. You just learn. It takes so much time to really get to know a person. And a lot of people have sort of they're on their best behavior in the beginning. Where they're, you don't show all your cards at once kind of thing. So it's almost impossible to see the complete truth. I don't know that we ever really see the full truth of a person, but there's going to be surprises. Yeah. So it's hard to tell, but that was kind of a tragic one. And sometimes too, it's more about the person. Even just that, to go from saying we want to get married to a short time later saying let's break up. It's not a person that's going to oscillate that quickly, is still confused about themselves, I would imagine.
What he said to me over the phone, and I had just gone down to visit him. I had said to him about my marriage to your dad.
Oh, yeah.
I said to him, I grew to love Tom, but I was never in love with him, that infatuation thing.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a safe relationship. I didn't know the problems, that would come between us. But I had said that to him when I was talking about my relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
And when he broke up with me over the phone, he said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And
my!
And I don't think he remembered that that's what I would use that, to distinguish, how I felt.
Oh, yeah.
And it was crushing.
Oh,
it was just crushing.
Oh, I bet. You don't say that to someone. That's a really rude thing to say.
Part of it, though, I have a tendency to don't believe. I believe what I want to believe. See the picture in rose-colored glasses sometimes. And another thing he had said to me, I think one of the last times or two I'd been down there, is this is my last relationship or something. Or he put it in a way as I'm not going to do another relationship, but not to mean that he was going to be with me forever.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was odd, but I didn't tell him, would you break that down and tell me what you mean by that? Because I didn't want to know.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, he's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about, but I'll just ignore it.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's people, that's the funny thing about relationships is we talk about it so much, rather than just letting relationships be whatever they are. Like, even the idea, like, this is the last relationship I'm going to be in. It was like, well, you're never going to talk to a woman again. I mean, there's such a varying degree of relationships that you have with people. So it's like maybe a last official relationship, but it's like, you don't know. You don't know who you're going to meet and what you're going to be inspired to unless you're going to decide to be a monk or something, like go live in a cave or something like that. But it's a weird thing to kind of like think of relationships in that way, like.
Yeah. Well, he was already involved with somebody else.
Oh, see, dirty dog.
Yeah. And then, because I knew we had this common friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my friend down there had told me that he had come on to another one of the women that I knew too.
Yeah.
It was a friend of hers. And
what I love is, that I think as a younger person, you look up to older people and you're like, oh, you think people have figured something out over time. But then it's like...
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would think.
But then there's all these little weird things going on still. It's like people are still just people. Like, we don't always learn from these things.
No.
And, so, yeah, that was a while ago. But before that, you were in Boston, and then you moved back to Seattle. And how long did you live in Seattle again before you met Dad? You were honky-tonkin'? Is that what you called it?
Honky-tonkin'.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was in Boston when I was 22, 23 maybe. Mm-hmm. I didn't meet your dad until I was 28.
Oh, okay. So just a few years.
Yeah, so it was a while because I went to Europe and I think I'm trying to think if I went back and stayed in New York. Had that happened yet? I don't know. Mm-hmm. No, my brother came home because I went to Europe. I came back. My brother came back. My dad died. But, I was in Seattle as, going out, dancing and honky-tonkin'. Living, and I wasn't a big drug person. I couldn't smoke weed anymore because it just depressed me, made me nonverbal. I didn't really experiment with anything hallucinogenics. I think a couple times I had mescaline. I never took LSD. I liked hashish for a while, but then after a while I couldn't take that either.
Yeah.
But but I would drink, but I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic then. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could have something to drink and then walk away, Later on, I did become an alcoholic. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah. And then, how'd you meet Dad? And
I met him. I was working downtown at an office supply company, and his family had an office supply company, kind of kitty corner downtown, and they'd been in business. Like I said, I don't know if we covered that earlier. His family. His grandparents started the business, and he seemed like a really nice guy, and we just he came over one time to get some stuff from our company, and he said he was, I told him there was a band playing that we knew some of the members of playing in South Park, I think, and I was living up in Mount Lake Terrace at the time. And my roommate and I were going to come down and listen to this band. And so I told him, oh, you ought to come by, you know.
Yeah.
And
Is that the first time you met him?
no, he had been coming in.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
it was like one of the clients.
Yeah, they would trade supplies, like, you know, if they were out of pink copy paper, you know, he'd come get some from us, and they kept a tally. And
oh, interesting.
But because there were 3 small office supply companies in that, and we all did that.
Oh.
But, you know, I'd seen him and his uncle and his dad, and they all seemed like decent people, and that was part of the draw. Like, I was drawn to this, he comes from a family that lived in the same house forever, and family business, and, you know, he's got 3 sisters, and I thought, yeah, perfect. He doesn't have a family like mine that's moved all over. You know, that moved every year the first 10 years of my life, and you know, probably his parents probably aren't alcoholics, and I never thought of my folks. Actually, I didn't think about that they were alcoholics, but I just knew that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And and he was really nice. I mean, he was very gentlemanly.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then you guys started dating pretty quick, or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we
Just right out
started
of the gate?
dating. Started dating pretty quick, and then they were raising his rent for some reason. He's going to move out, and I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, but I told him he could stay with me for a while. And then my roommate, we had had another gal move in with us, and they didn't like all of us being there. And they asked, my roommate asked if we could move out, which really pissed me off. We were going to anyway.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
still. Yeah.
But the thing is, her and I had rented this house.
Yeah.
And, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But so we moved out. We had some friends that had rented a house in Burien, and he was from Burien, and it was a sweet little house. So we moved down to Burien when it became available.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was all right for that first year, I guess.
Yeah.
He ended up quitting Tig Stationery, the family business, and he had a row with his. I don't know if his dad.
So he had a row with his dad, or his?
Oh, I didn't. That was when he fished for a while.
Oh, okay.
His uncle and he, I think, had a. Did
he go fishing with his uncle, or is that
no?
Oh, he had a row.
He did have an uncle that was a fisherman. But no, this was a friend of ours. His dad was a fisherman in Alaska, but then I think it must have been in the winter time that he came down and fished Puget Sound, but they could only fish like on the weekends.
Oh, okay.
So he did that part-time. And then for a while he worked at the Bon Marché, folding towels and stuff, just to have work. And then he ended up, his dad, they wanted him to come back and work for the family business, so he did.
Yeah. And you worked there too, right?
Yeah, they offered me the job. I quit my job at the National Park Service, which was probably one of the biggest mistakes I ever made.
Yeah.
Besides quitting Harvard Law School,
Yeah.
I also worked at the University of Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for a while, and I had a lot of jobs, good jobs.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to, when you think a business is going to do well, it's hard to predict.
Yeah. But I quit and went to work for TAG, and then I kind of found out started to figure out how the family dynamics were.
Yeah, once you were in the lion's den.
That they were all flawed, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe more than my own family, I think. They weren't alcoholics, but, there was a lot of...
Yeah.
There's a couple of them were just plain mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard some stories, and... I met them, and I find, it's interesting with people like in families, because on an individual level, people can be kind and nice, but then in family dynamics, sometimes it's like sometimes the dark side comes out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We just hearing about the family drama, like growing up and like between dad and his sisters and stuff is, I kind of liked hearing about it. It's interesting, but I wouldn't want to be a part of it. I'm pretty thankful for you and Katie, and how seemingly relaxed we are.
I know, and my sister and brother, I mean, our relationship's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, one of his is the Darth Vader of siblings.
Yeah.
Yes. But we shall not name names.
Yeah, the name you shall not name or say or whatever it is.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, my Aunt Voldemort. Yeah, so 28 and family business going on. You're starting to learn about the family, and then you guys had kids. You had Katie when you were 34, so it was
yeah, we were married for a while, 4 years. Mm-hmm. No, we were married when I was 30. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on our 4th anniversary, she was born.
Yeah, and when your 4th anniversary, I forgot about that. It was on your anniversary, Katie's birthday.
Yeah, I forgot I always, after a while, when your dad and I had problems or separated, I just like,
yeah,
what anniversary? I don't want to celebrate that shit.
Did you guys separate at all before you had kids? Like, did you have any spats?
I actually went, after we'd been married a year or so, I did go back to New York. It was supposed to be for a couple of weeks, and I ended up staying a little over 3 weeks, I think, and I didn't want to go back home. But I did, and your dad, he wanted us to maybe do counseling or whatever. We did end up going to this counselor at a church. He found this place. It was a church in Federal Way. And it was horrible. The guy wasn't qualified. It was, I don't even go into it. And it's like, okay, well, we'll try that. And it was like,
yeah.
What a crock. It did not resolve anything.
Yeah, what kind of, I don't want to get too into the weeds. Were you guys partying at that point? Like, was that a source of any of the problem, or was it just like disagreements between the two?
No, just disagreements. Just he could get, well, neither one of us were good at, I would get emotional. And if I'd get upset or emotional, I would drink, and he'd made wine, like say, but I wasn't an alcoholic then, but I would drink wine and then I'd get mouthy. Oh,
yeah. Get feisty.
Because I couldn't say it. I couldn't use my voice when I wasn't drunk. And then he would get in a snit about something, and he wouldn't speak to me for days.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just was, we couldn't crack that nut, so to speak. We couldn't.
Not getting along.
It was a communication thing. And we didn't think about finding a good marriage counselor. We went to that one at the church, then he wasn't even qualified. And it had to do with, I don't know how to say this in front of my son. It had to do with sexual problems that we were having, and the guy put us on a schedule,
Oh my God!
And it's like that. It's not okay with me, because it wasn't getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah,
and it was with me. It was a trust issue with him.
Yeah,
because sometimes when he'd get snarky, he would be verbally abusive. He never laid a hand on me. He was never physically abusive.
Yeah,
but mentally and verbally, yes. And so I had developed trust issues, and I'm sure he did too. I mean, I wasn't a perfect match for him either. And it was the breakdown in communication. It was later that we started having problems. We started doing the cocaine and stuff, and Dad thought he would get rich becoming a dealer, which he never did. Although even to the day he died, he always maintained that he was successful at it. Even though he lost his wife and his children.
Oh, yeah.
He lost the house.
Yeah, he lost his health.
He had a stroke. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Treated high blood pressure, but he maintained that he was good at it.
I remember it. He would say, he's like, the only one thing I was good at was selling drugs. And it's like, have you looked at your life and what your reward for that was? Like, it just is such a funny thing how skewed we can be, how people can be about things.
It's like I said with that last relationship of mine. He'd say things like, "This will be my last relationship," and I wasn't.
You weren't hearing it.
I wasn't hearing it like.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you'd hear it, but you weren't listening or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe it, but.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't liking him that much either. He was kind of.
Yeah, and then so you guys had Katie, and then raising a kid, that can't make it easier. Did you still work during that time too?
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah,
I did work, and then his hours were. It was getting so he was only like working 10 hours a week.
Really? Because of his choices or because of the business?
The drugs. The
drugs.
Business.
Oh, so
he would stay up.
You started doing the drugs before Katie was born or after?
I think seriously, we did a little bit before she was born, but it wasn't until after that it escalated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he
just started doing more drugs and less work.
Yeah, because he'd stay up during the week, and people would start coming over, and then he had somebody move into the house in the basement that was a dealer, and
oh shit.
And then I think that was when I was pregnant with you, and I said they've got to move out or I'm leaving, and I went to stay at Grandma and Grandpa were in Hawaii, I think at the time, or on a cruise. So I went over to their house, and he finally got the people out, and I went back, but it didn't improve.
Yeah.
And you were born, and I stuck it out for 3 years, but I kind of slacked off a little on, because I couldn't work and have 2 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And do the drugs like we were doing. I still did them, like maybe on the weekend for a bit, but it started slowing down because I just couldn't do it. Yeah. And I didn't enjoy it. And I was so guilt-ridden, and my self-esteem, and we were not getting along at all. He was just awful. And I mean, he'd accused me of he'd hide his money, his drug money, and it accused me of stealing it. And then I'd find it and give it to him, and I was so mad at myself because I thought, well, shit, I should just keep the money and not give it to him.
He thinks it's gone anyways.
I'm stealing it anyway. But not to make him seem like a bad person, but
that's all right.
I kept saying, I'm going to leave, and with me, it's so hard for me to make changes. I'm such a procrastinator. It took me a while, and then finally I asked Grandma if I could come stay with her for a while, and I brought you 2 kids, and we went to Grandma's house, and we were there for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Did they have any idea of like what the extent of it was, or like Grandma and stuff? Because it was his mom, right?
She knew, yeah. She knew, and I'm sure that Voldemort.
Oh, yeah.
Voldemort, I'm sure
she was telling her.
Because she did. She came by our house one day, and we were home because it was a work day, but I think we had both stayed up or something.
Partied too much, like you guys coming to work.
And she talked to us, and I think I stayed in the other room about quitting, stopping it, you know. And it was humiliating, you know, that of course they knew what was going on, but...
And this is a short one, but again, you can contribute to the podcast. There's a link in the description, ko-fi.com, Whole Life Northwest. And I also wanted to get your feedback about who you'd like to see on the podcast. Either send them this or let us know who we need to reach out to, because I want to meet and talk to and interview the people that you think is interesting, so we can chat about life and get to know each other and maybe learn some things we didn't know about these people. So please let me know who you would want to most hear on the podcast. So thank you again, and let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, it was
That is
dark time.
Yeah.
Dark time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I remember living at Grandma's, and then I would go into Dad's on the weekend, and I remember how late he would sleep in, and I didn't know what was going on. I do remember still one time I walked in on him doing coke in the bathroom, but I didn't know what was going on. I mean, you don't really know what... You know something's weird as a kid, but you don't know. It's just, that's reality. And even going back and forth between grandmas, like, that was just what it was. I don't know how often.
One of my biggest regrets was letting you guys go spend the weekend with him. You wanted to, because it was fun over there, but at the same time, I was putting you at harm. I did make him say, you can't bring people into the house while they're here.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know... I think for a while he was kind of better about it, but I mean, I was kind of like not paying attention, because that's when I upped my drinking.
Oh, yeah.
I'd quit doing drugs, the coke. I wasn't doing coke, but I was really, I just started drinking beer every day after work. I'd come home and I'd feed you guys. And
yeah. And you were working full time too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just started drinking beer.
Drinking beer?
Every night until it was time to go to bed.
That's right.
And get up and do the day over again. But I think I was really, and I'm not meaning to say it as an excuse, but I was really depressed, and I should have had some serious counseling.
It's like when you've got 2 kids, you have to work full time, and a bad marriage, you got a 3rd baby you're taking care of that's called a husband. It's like, when do you find time to go to counseling or take care of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
There is no more time. Like, you gonna have us go with him more so you can go to therapy that you can't afford? Like,
I was so ashamed too, and I was still working for the family business, so I didn't have outside friends that I could talk to about it. My own family, I couldn't talk to about it. My sister, I just was too ashamed. I was too ashamed. And other than that, and I didn't have any friends of my own.
Yeah.
You know, the one friend I made at Grandma's was an alcoholic also, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I started using alcohol to self-medicate and to block out all thoughts or feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it just progressed from there. I couldn't, after a while, I couldn't quit.
Yeah. And you're sober now.
Oh, yeah. It'll be 15 years in July.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
You think you'll ever go back?
Oh, God, I hope not. It sure didn't solve anything. I don't think so, because sometimes I get a little imbalanced on my feet. It is a little dizzy.
I can't even walk at all.
I can't even. No, sometimes I have trouble walking. No, I don't think. No, and it's actually a depressant. And I don't need that. I mean,
life's hard enough already.
Yes, it is. You'd think the first couple of drinks are uplifting, like yeehaw, and then after a while it just spirals down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had so much shame for the years of drugs and the things that went on and how we weren't good to each other, your dad and I, and my self-esteem disappeared, and I did not know how to take care of myself. And it took a long time. I'm still learning at my age to try and take better care of myself. That's like the incident I told you about earlier in the week, that the run-in with that ex-friend, I guess, or old friend, and how crushed I was, but then I have to put it aside, not blame myself, give self-affirmations that I am a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve that kind of behavior
Mm-hmm.
from anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and that I don't want to be a part of her story, so I'm not going to engage in that behavior or retaliate or respond to or anything.
And it's so hard too when the person is not willing to communicate, because even if you know you're a good person, you still are wondering, like, what did I do? Like, what could I possibly done to warrant this?
It makes me so curious, like, what does she think
happened?
I did that? And I honestly couldn't tell you, but it's like, I'll never know unless she is willing to share that.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly can't go up to and ask her. She's,
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah, I've had some of that recently, and it's like really, like, drives you nuts a little bit, because you're like,
it makes you doubt yourself.
It makes you doubt yourself and everything. You're like analyzing every little thing that you could have possibly done, trying to put this puzzle together that doesn't really make sense. But yeah, at the end of the day, you just gotta let them be, and, you know, honor whatever their wishes are and let it go.
Yeah, just try and be as happy as you can.
Now Buddy's coming to have a chat.
My baby, my little bear.
Little Buddy.
Oh
now,
my goodness!
He's ready to take a nap.
He did take a nap.
He was
right down there.
Oh, okay.
Under the
He's
table.
just waking up. What do you think? Like, you left Dad eventually. But if you could talk to yourself, or like, what do you think would be a good approach to getting into a relationship? Do you think, have you ever, like, what advice would you give someone, or did you ever figure it out,
I don't know that I ever figured out. I would say start slowly. Mm-hmm. Do a friendship. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think young people, though, you're more sexually motivated. I'm kind of beyond that now.
Yeah.
But just get to actually know the person. Mm-hmm. And common interests are really important. That's the thing with your dad and I. We didn't have anything we could do together. He didn't like to camp I started us going to the ocean, and then even though we were separated, he would come too, but it usually wasn't that much fun for me with him.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that was important. Mm-hmm. But we didn't really, he never traveled, and when we ever traveled, I'd initiate it, like going back to see my sister in New York or whatever, and so we didn't have anything really in common. Mm-hmm. Except the drugs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was not sustainable.
I've definitely seen that, where a lot of times it's drinking is what people have in common. Even friends too. Yeah. Like, I'm sober now, and I had to make a bunch of new friends, because I realized, like, what I did with people was go out drinking and, like, chat and hang out. But, like, when you don't have that, like, communal activity, it's like, what do you do? And now so many of my friends are, like, hobby related, or, like, we just do certain things together. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. But
when I was in Sequim, I had a group we would few days a week usually walk, because there were a lot of trails over there. Yeah. And then I volunteered too. So things like that. But, I have a friend that is just a friend, a male friend, and we travel. Usually a couple times a year. We'll go down to Seaside, and this month we're going to go to Leavenworth for a couple of days. And, he's a good travel mate, but we're just friends. I've known him he's in the program too. I met him in the program, and so he's just a good friend, But people, things you have in common with people that you could share with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Now, now that, what about being a parent? Like, you had to raise us through all of that, and, I think Katie and I turned out pretty good.
I amazingly so, yes, considering,
What?
my
Yeah.
lack of frame of mind or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that I can take credit for it, except that I know that I did love you guys, and I wasn't a real authoritarian. Like I don't think I was real judgmental and tried to control you so much. When I could have done a better job, maybe in some ways, but I think both of you turned out. You're both compassionate, loving people,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. I definitely, like, that's one thing is I growing up, I knew, our family wasn't perfect. But I always knew that you guys would love me no matter what.
Yeah.
And that, I think, really went a long way, because I hear, I've heard a lot of stories where parents, like, leverage their love over their kid, of, like, you listen to me, or, like, you do follow the plan I have set for you, or, like, we won't participate or be family, or, like, I know, like, you've told me so many times, to the point where maybe you wanted me to be gay, but I knew I knew that even if I was gay or anything, that like, you would have loved me the same.
Yeah.
And I know that can be a barrier for some people, of, like, families or parents that have really strict views about things, and then it doesn't allow someone to feel safe to explore life and who they are.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I've appreciated, and I feel like some of the parenting was hands off a little bit, but in the way where I learned to figure out things for myself, and it wasn't, which I feel like the opposite is something like a parent saying, like, this is the way that it's supposed to be, and this is how you are supposed to be, and it feels more oppressive rather than guiding. And I feel like you really let me figure out who I was and what direction I'm going, which I really appreciated.
Yeah. I think that comes from when I was growing up. My mom was kind of detached,
Mm-hmm.
but and I can't explain it, but she was a kind person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both my mom and dad had their childhoods were not ideal, and not that anybody's is, but one thing that impresses me when I think about my mom is she never yelled or hit me. Mm-hmm. She never, if I broke a dish, like I remember once breaking something, and it was maybe her mother's dish or something, and she was like very non-reactionary about it. It's just, and her attitude, it's just a thing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like that old saying, don't cry over spilt milk.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's an accident. Mm-hmm. You didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And she was very loving in that way.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that way about things too. If you guys just dropped something or broke something or had an accident, I mean, you can't get mad. I mean, it's just being human.
Some people can get mad.
Yeah, so I appreciate that from my mom.
I feel like I got a good balance of both. Whereas, like, you were nice and accepting and, like, forgiving, and let us learn in a nice, calm environment. And then one time I was at a restaurant and I dropped a milkshake, and Dad about like exploded and was like yelling in the restaurant, and it was mortifying. But I think he was just a really frustrated person. I didn't realize that, I know.
It was the cocaine he was using.
Yeah. And it just makes you a little short-tempered, a little shorter fuse. But that was all right, too. I kind of saw it as, like, what I don't want to be. It's like I got to see some examples of both, of like, oh, you could be like kind and forgiving, or you could be like really angry because things didn't go the way you thought they were.
Yeah.
So it was a good example of both, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was with him and you, because Katie could do no wrong. But you even, and I think the cocaine had something to do with it, that made him edgier. But still, if it would have been her dropping it, I don't think he would have yelled at her like that. And I don't know if it's because he didn't have a relationship with his own dad, and there was some sort of something going on like that. Because you were 3, and I mean, you were 4. I mean, when we left, you were 3. You might have been 4 or 5 when that happened. I don't know. But you were still a child.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that difference. I think, too, after he had a stroke, I think he probably was
He was
worse.
A different person. He was a totally different person. Not totally, but a lot different. That's the first time he ever yelled at Katie, really.
Yeah, afterwards.
And said something to her like she had taken his car to take her friend home.
Oh.
And he didn't need it, and he was yelling at her, and he said, if you were here, I'd kill you. Well, he didn't mean it. That's just the things that came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And after he had the stroke.
Well,
but after that, she came and stayed with me. She left. She had just come home from
Texas, I
think.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, that was much later. But I remember that stuff too. It's like anytime, like borrowing money from him or using his car was like the worst choice. It's like you kind of did it out of necessity, but I don't know if it was worth it.
Well, I remember the last time too, for my birthday, he wanted to take me out to dinner anywhere. So I picked Anthony's in Des Moines, and you and Katie were there.
Yeah.
And we went out to dinner, and the whole time or afterwards, he bitched about how much it costs and this and that and the other and everything. And at some point, and I think the final straw was, and I always said, I'm never going out with him again.
Yeah.
We'll just go to like McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
Wendy's.
Go where he wants to go.
Go to Wendy's or something. But the last time I remember, I think going out to eat with him and you, we went to Vince's and
I remember
and
that.
Burien, and there were some people sitting over, and maybe the lady was talking too loud.
And he started mimicking her really loud, and it was just mortifying in the restaurant.
Talking about how rude people were that were on their phones in restaurants and stuff.
Yeah. And then he's the rude one. He was like that. He could be so rude sometimes, just oblivious. But that's enough about Dad. We could go. There's many more stories. What I wanted to ask you was, I guess if you had advice for people that are, gonna have kids, what kind of things you learned over the course of doing it, and what would you say to your younger self, I guess?
One, I think that it's important for kids to have boundaries, and I tried to do that a little bit, like on school nights, seeing that you guys had a bedtime and whatnot. Also, not, I wasn't a strong disciplinarian, but yet, if you started crying for something, you for sure would not get it. You don't cave.
Yeah.
That's like training a dog. I mean, you don't. Yeah, when they're little, you definitely think kids feel more secure if they have boundaries. And but I wasn't an ideal mother, so to say. But I think the most important thing is just to be loving and compassionate and treat them like not adults because they're in your care, but like if they break something on accident, it's not a big deal. They're more important than that plate or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, I think I set limits too. Like at one Christmas, it was my daughter at Easter. Her dad let her write a letter to the Easter Bunny, like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And so I got up in the morning because I'm the one that did the Easter baskets, and there was this long list of things like a dress and this and that and the other. And I'm like, her Easter basket was already done.
Yeah.
I can't go out and buy all this stuff. And I thought, what was he thinking?
Some parent coordination would be good.
And at Christmas, and because he wasn't working that much then either, I was the one that had to do all the Christmas presents. I limited the amount. I'd say, well, Santa Claus can only bring you, like one thing you want more than anything in the world, well, within reason. I forget how I put it, but to let them know that they weren't going to get everything. The moon and the stars. Because I had somebody in my family that would spend, like thousands at Christmas that they didn't have.
Well, yeah.
And I can't buy into that, so.
That's fair.
Things kids get, just keeping it real, and it's more important to do things as a family or to do things with your kids. They enjoy it much more. I think you guys, like, we'd go down to Saltwater Park or, someplace where you can frolic.
Yeah, exploring was good.
Yeah, and when we'd go to the ocean, I think you had the most fun of ever catching snakes and frogs.
Oh, yeah. I loved going to the ocean. It was fun out there.
And it's something we could do together.
Yeah. Now, Katie and I, neither of us have kids at this point, but recently I had some lesbians slide into my DMs that are going to asking if I would be interested in being a sperm donor. And I just wondered, what you think about that, what you think about, Katie and I not having kids. Did you really want to be a grandparent, or what do you think about this new proposition?
I kind of did want to be a grandparent, but at the same time, only if you guys were emotionally ready or whatever, because I never really planned or not planned on having children, but I'm glad I did. But it's an interesting idea. I think as long as and you said you're getting to know those women, and as long as they're good, stable people and can provide a loving home, I think that's great. Yeah. And I would love to be able to see the little child that you had. I would like to see a little Tommy or a little, Yeah. And Katie, I think, even though she can be prickly sometimes, and if you're watching this, Katie, no, I didn't say that. I think she'd be a wonderful mother, but she's not in a place maybe where she can do that right now.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her about any of that stuff. But it definitely is being that I'm not in a relationship or anything, it's definitely a very interesting proposition, and they're very, very lovely women, and it's really sweet what they are hoping to do, and I think it's beautiful to be able to be a part of and help someone have a family, and I don't know, part of me is really intrigued because I have a village concept of raising children, where I think it takes a village. And I've seen, growing up, I saw a lot of dysfunctional households, and some of the most dysfunctional ones are, a heterosexual nuclear family, and like it's the worst environment you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so, and then there's also the families that are just really isolated. It's like they don't learn to reach out for stuff. But I think if kids can be in a loving and supportive environment, the more parents and the more support, the better. So it is very, like, really intriguing to me to be a part of something like that. And, to whatever, it's not 100% clear to what degree, I would or wouldn't be involved. But it's, this isn't the first time that it's come up for me. But it gets a little more intriguing every time that I...
Well, it sounds like this is a little bit more mature. The other one, it sounded like there weren't as many guidelines with it was with a single woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, I think they have legally, they have plans drawn up that would protect them and you.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Might be a little baby running around or something. Buddy'll have a sister or a brother or something. What do you think, Buddy?
Oh. And you say, ow.
He's like, as long as...
Oh. Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah, I think Buddy, just as long as they don't eat his kibble or his eggs, his fried eggs in the morning.
He don't like kibble. He doesn't like kibble.
Oh, no? Oh.
No, well, he'll eat it if you put something on it, but or only if he's really hungry.
Yeah.
Not real.
And is it true you make him a fried egg every morning?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's eating better than a lot of people, I think.
I'm going to start making his food from now on. I don't think the kibble's that's...
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's that healthy for him.
I don't think so either.
I've been reading some recipes for...
Ooh. Homemade dog kibble? Dog food?
Dog food. Vegetables and protein and...
Yeah.
He likes watermelon too.
Oh, all right.
Dogs can eat mangoes, but not grapes. And
no
apple.
Grapes. Yeah.
He likes apples too.
Well, all right. I think that's probably enough. Enough chatting.
A couple hours worth of editing to do.
Yeah. I got some editing to do. I really appreciate you coming on the show with me. And maybe we'll have you back. There's a whole lifetime of stuff to go over. There's, we only touched the tip of the iceberg, but it's fun. There's things I learn every time I hear stories about your past and growing up. There's always some new piece that I didn't realize, or maybe something I forgot. It's really fascinating to hear, and just to hear your perspective on things. And is there last thing, any big life takeaways for what makes a good life? Anything you feel like you've learned? Do you ever figure it out?
I hope so. I think now, I feel like I'm still learning. There are times I'm still not comfortable with life, and but it's getting easier, which is weird to say, except that my body doesn't know that. My body, I've had a couple weird little aches and pains, and but I just keep growing, keep an open mind. Yeah. Keep walking, keep getting up,
keep moving. And is there anything that you would want to ask the next person that I interview? You don't know who it is, obviously, but is there any things you want to know about life, or something I should ask somebody?
Yeah, how do you stay focused in being present? How do I stay present and not go into that hamster wheel of my mind sometimes? It's getting easier, but still, to be present and appreciate on a day-to-day basis all the blessings or all the things that are available to us, you know, and not to get emotionally sucked into some of the drama.
Oh, yeah.
Just how to stay present.
Yeah. That's a good question. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me as a child. Thanks for raising me. I really appreciate it. All right.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. That makes me feel good.
And thank you all for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find all this on all the different listening sources that are known to man. So yeah, look forward to more episodes. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know who you want to have on the show. Let me know what your favorite food is, and let me know if you have any pets and what their names are, and if you think cats or dogs are better. And that's probably it. All right. See you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.